Well, I don't know whether that's true or not. I'm just about as nervous as I always am at this time, but we did play a better game against the Cardinals than we have for some time, and this is encouraging for us all.
Coach, you said you found a spark. Given the turnovers and the degree of difficulty you sometimes had moving offensively, where was that spark that you are speaking of?
Well, I think the spark came from a team effort more than individuals. We just seemed to be, as a team, more ready and more determined to play well. Normally in the past, when we had as many turnovers as we had against us in the ball game, we wouldn't have played very well. But we seemed to overcome them. It didn't seem to bother us at all. We came back and made our own plays that were necessary to win the game, and this is the thing that I was most delighted with.
Observing the team on the field, there seemed to be more of a unity out there and everybody encouraging the other one. Was there any kind of meeting or something that precipitated this attitude?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just a matter-of-fact thing that we've experienced in the past. We know when we come to a dead end, and we have come to a dead end. And when that happens, we seem to have the ability to fight back, and this is showing right now, and hopefully it will be good enough to carry us into the playoffs.
For purposes of TV, would you give us your clarification on your quarterback situation?
Yes, I kind of re-evaluated the quarterback situation based upon the fact that Roger has performed now in 3 ball games. Up until this point, I've said that Craig Martin would be in the game, win or lose it completely, and right now I've said, in effect, that Roger, I think, is ready to play if needed in a tight situation. I think he's worked long enough, he's been out there long enough now that he could contribute to a game when it was in a tight situation.
Do you try and intimidate the guy who is lined up across from you at the line of scrimmage, perhaps looking into his eyes and trying to find something there, or saying something to him during a ball game?
I try to become his friend, and after a while, I try to turn. But it helps, and it helps me out a lot.
Do you talk with him quite a bit during the ball game?
Yeah, I talk to him and try to get a little friendly conversation going.
No sarcasm or anything like that, though. That's really a kind of a private war that goes on during the ball game, even if the flow of the play is away from you. You and that tackler are just going at each other constantly, aren't you?
Yes. He wants to look good, and you want to look good, so you both go at it. 30 minutes.
Behind these doors lies the recognized law west of the Trinity. It's the courtroom in Oak Cliff of Judge W.E. Bill Richburg, Precinct 7, Place 1. Judge Richburg was first elected Justice of the Peace in 1944, and for these past 28 years he has had no opposition for re-election. He acquired the title, the law west of the Trinity, for his fair and quick enactment of justice. In this time he has served, according to a Commissioner's Court resolution, as combination father confessor, detective, marriage counselor, psychologist, marrying man, referee for fighting husbands and wives, and judge. He's being honored tonight with a special appreciation dinner on this Judge W.E. Bill Richburg Day in Dallas County. Excuse me, Judge Richburg. In your years on this bench, you've heard a lot of cases like the one you just disposed of, but thinking back over the years, what would you term your most memorable case?
Well, it'd take a great deal of thought on that on short notice. There have been several of them. One of the most peculiar cases and the most embarrassed I ever got over one, I had a Latin call me one day, and of course I don't speak Spanish, and I thought I understood him. And it seemed that they'd had a family trouble or something, and he wanted me to send out and get the kids, I thought he said, and come to find out I sent the dog wagon out. I thought he was saying cats, and when it got out there's his children he wanted picked up.
Judge, how do you see enactment of the law in the future now that you're retiring?
Oh, I don't think there'll be a great deal of difference in it. Now, I don't probably follow the strict letter of the statutes like a great number of people, because I consider this the people's court. It's where they can go and talk to the judge without a lawyer normally, and it's the people's court, and I try to speak their language and understand them and let them talk their own language, and I find out it's a great success just to have an understanding, and most trouble is a lack of understanding in the first place.
Judge, you got a busy docket. We'll let you get back.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
But I don't know why he just won't leave me alone.
When she
I
get a
can't walk
divorce,
out of the house without him messing with
Well,
me.
now, are you trying to force her to get a divorce?
no, I ain't trying to force her to do nothing.
What do you
I just
call
want my
that
money,
for?
is all I want.
Well, you're in the wrong court about this money. They owe you $500.
No, sir, they do.
So an era in law enforcement comes to an end December 31st when Judge Bill Richburg retires. But it will go on. His son won re-election in his mid-30s. He will be known as Judge W.J. Richburg. The law west of the Trinity will certainly go on, but the distinction may now have to be spread among more than one court. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
But based on our own
Whatever it is, you ever hit you? I know. Now, what? How old are your grandpa?
About $700.
No, it's
Seven?
not. We have a
Yes.
death in our family, and he loaned us that
They won't pay me.
$150 apiece. One paid the other.
Pay on the funeral,
Yes.
and they never have paid you back.
No.
Just one.
Well, now you got mad at your wife about that?
She-
Anything?
These are my glasses that he knocked out of my face and threw up.
So what I propose to do is for the state to guarantee up to 30% of the bond in order to make the bond saleable in the market. I'm convinced that this can be done without ever costing the state any money because we, will continue to have growth in our metropolitan area. And I think the trend today is definitely, too, towards the increase in density, high-rise apartments and so forth, that we will have the density in the years ahead that will make these systems self-sufficient, or the revenue from them pay the bonds necessary to build them. Members and guests of the Dallas Chamber of Commerce, I thoroughly appreciate this opportunity to visit with you. And I thank you for being my friend for many years.
And all chamber members were officially advised no additional
health, culture, and the humanities. Awarded on behalf of the people of Dallas by the Dallas Chamber of Commerce, December 5, 1972.
In trying to assist you or prepare you in communicating.
Students feeling forward about busing.
Some are for it and some are against it. A lot of whites feel that it is unfair to blacks. That
I was called out last night on the investigation, and after observing the scene and going through where the burnt portion of the building, we found some evidence inside that determined to be an arson.
I don't think they're doing all they can do. They're doing a lot by sponsoring, like, some tutorial programs and resource programs, but I think they could do more to ease desegregation.
What kind of things could they do more?
I think, well, like I was saying, to help children or students that don't achieve as high as other ones to come up to that level, and starting early, well, they have some programs that are doing that, starting early as small children so they don't have such a hassle when they get into high school.
State's Attorney John Stauffer called the case the Father's Day Massacre of 1972 in the murder capital of the world, comparing former Dallas policeman John Singletary to Judas, Benedict Arnold, and an unworthy Knight of the King. Stauffer, in his closing arguments, dramatically begged the jury to impose a life sentence on the man convicted of providing his service revolver for the murder of Brian Stout. He called Mary Stout, wife of the victim, an actress who, if allowed to become an apartment manager, as she planned if she had received probation, would run the swingingest apartment house in town. Stauffer emphasized the point by dancing the twist in front of the all-male, all-married jury. Singletary's attorney, Jack Hampton, asked the jury to consider the defendant's 2 tours of Vietnam and to give him a 10-year probated sentence. Tim Carr, Mary's defense, emphasized that this was a crime of passion for which the 34-year-old mother of 2 had suffered enough. The torrid love affair that was mentioned so much in this trial, he argued, was made up by the state's attorney. He, too, pled for probation for his client, who was convicted of encouraging, commanding, and advising the murder of her husband. But the jury, after deliberating for 3 hours and 50 minutes, assessed both defendants with 25 years confinement. Many of Mrs. Stout's friends and family joined her in tears when the jury was finally dismissed.
This murder case is far from over, however. The woman accused of the crime, Helen Cundiff, will be tried January 2nd, and the boy who drove her car to the murder, Lester Weber Jr., will be tried sometime after that. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Judy Hanna, the Dallas County Courthouse.
The Northgate United Methodist Church on West Northgate Drive was the site of the first fire. That alarm was turned in shortly after 1 o'clock this morning. Before the fire was brought under control, the interior was gutted, and church officials placed the loss at about $60,000. Authorities with the fire department say they could find no evidence of arson, although they would not rule out the possibility. The church minister, the Reverend Kenneth McIntire, told me the building had been broken into several times and said about a year ago someone had tried to set a fire here. But there was no doubt about the fire at the Beltline Road Baptist Church. Authorities said it definitely was a case of arson. The The blaze at Beltline Baptist was discovered by firemen on their way to the Methodist church, and they were able to confine this fire to the Sunday school wing, but not before the blaze caused damage estimated at between $15,000 and $20,000. The two church fires come on the heels of Saturday's blaze, which destroyed the 8th grade wing of Bowie Junior High School. Authorities say this fire also was a case of arson and might have been the start of a pattern.
Well, it seems like on these, like it has been in previous years, so we have a series of fires or bomb calls, and they will just follow on through and spread from one side of town, and then they not only in Irving, they will go to the surrounding towns and then spread and just mushroom out on further out as the people read about them and hear about them, and they just have a tendency to spread in that direction.
There are no suspects in these three fires, but regardless of what caused them, one thing is certain. An awful lot of people, both here at Bowie Junior High School and elsewhere in Irving, have been inconvenienced because of them. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Dr. Carl McIntire is president of the International Council of Christian Churches, and as you can see from his rally at the Adolphus Hotel this evening, he's not in favor of the National Council of Churches. Dr. McIntire called the rally to let churchmen and laymen disagree with the council's position on a number of things. For example, he says the council is entirely too liberal. He explained that position to me at a news conference earlier today. He told me the National Council isn't quite communist.
It's not communist, not a communist organization, but it has given the communists great aid and assistance in what they have done, in the policies that they've advocated. Well, there's quite a difference between saying an organization is a communist organization with communist leaders and saying that their policies have given great assistance to the communists.
Dr. McIntire attended the National Council meeting this afternoon. In the Regency room of the posh Fairmont Hotel, where the meeting's being held, a panel of three talked about consumption of material things and the need for the nation to even out the distribution of wealth. As the audience applauded, panelists called for decreased church building, which they said used up natural resources and contributes to pollution, and a program of urging industry to invest in policies that agree with those of the National Council. Noted anthropologist Dr. Margaret Mead, one of the panel, however, noted that she foresaw neither a paradise on earth nor a worldwide catastrophe. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move.
will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity, unless the Lord... Hey, we had one some years ago, and the man sold it, and I was never able to get another station. Like my record. In that psalm, the Lord healed them. We've never disappointed them, and it's gotten to the place...
Back is 1940.
Consider the reorganization then merely a stepping up of action
It's
by
a
the same
stepping
group.
up of action, that's all.
You phrase this in your statement of restructuring the National Council with its
inhabitants as something good.
Dick Gregory wrote a book entitled From the Back.
Eternal, or whether or not it had a beginning.
You see, that our next speaker,
continuing development affords the hope of more for everyone